Hi guys, so it's Laura Cully from Laura Cully Hypnotherapy here again. I'm the hypnotherapist at Serendipity in Honiton High Street, and I also work from Axminster Health and Wellbeing, so you can come and see me at either of those places. I wanted to talk a little bit today about phobias, because phobias are very, very common, something that I get a lot of people coming to me about, but they're also a bit scary to tackle. Obviously, if you're really frightened of something, then it's a big step to actually go and talk to somebody and feel really ready to tackle that. But most people, when they've had a couple of sessions, go away saying, I wish I'd done this years ago. I don't know why I've suffered all these years when, I could have sorted this out a long, long time ago. So I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about what phobias are, how they start, and what we do in hypnotherapy to help you overcome them. So there are some natural things that we are born scared of. So one of those is the fear of falling. Babies don't like heights. They're always very aware of falling. So that's a natural phobia. And another one is loud noises. Babies really don't like loud noises and they get startled very easily. So those are two things that we're born with. Now obviously if those things get worse, it can lead to other phobias. So with the loud noises, things like fireworks, balloons, aeroplanes, things that make loud noises that might frighten you as a child can become full-blown phobias as you get into adulthood. And obviously the fear of falling, the fear of heights, tends to be if you are around somebody else who has a fear of heights, or if something happens to you when you're little. So these are various ways that phobias can start. So there's the learned phobia. So as I say, with the fear of falling, if somebody you know has that fear of heights, you might pick up on that. If a parent has a fear of spiders, again, that's something that you might end up picking up. I actually worked with a lady who was around about 70 years old, and she felt that she'd always had this phobia. She said, I think I was just born with it. And we ended up kind of going back to what we call the initial sensitizing event, so finding out where that phobia came from. And we went back to when she was 3 years old in the end, something that she had completely forgotten about. But she had memories of her mum being very afraid of spiders. And she actually basically trapped this little girl on the bed for an hour or two when she was around about 3 years old, waiting for her dad to come home to rescue them from a spider that was on the bedroom carpet. And of course the mother was very severely phobic of spiders. Sorry, that's my dog's tail. Was severely phobic, and the little girl got very frightened because mummy was so upset. Mummy, was crying, calling out for her dad, and they had to be rescued. So she grew up with this fear of spiders, and it had just got worse and worse over the years. And this lady particularly loved gardening, and it got to the point where she couldn't even go to her garden shed because she knew that there were spiders in there. So she got over it, and she was quite shocked actually, because I think she was a little bit cynical at first. So, well, I've always had this, and I don't know if I can get over it. And it was one of those gradual things that she noticed, and she actually contacted me about a year later and just said, it's just amazing. I go to the shed, I don't even think about spiders. I can sit in my lounge and I'm no longer looking around the room or worrying about any little movement. So, it was really good. I love working with phobias because it is almost like magic. People sort of look at you and think, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And then you hear from them later and their lives have completely changed because, obviously phobias can be quite restricting. So another kind of way that a phobia might start, and it's a little bit like, when she was a little girl, that was obviously quite traumatic for this lady, but through some kind of trauma, and it is a form of PTSD really. It's and you can become phobic to almost anything. It could be an object, a creature, a particular situation, a particular place, even a person. And some people say, when they come and see me, I'm so embarrassed because you're not going to believe what it is that I'm scared of. But, there's always a good reason for it. And it's quite an extreme case, but I remember reading a case study a few years ago of somebody who had this awful phobic reaction to buttons. She couldn't bear to wear buttons. She had young children. Her children couldn't wear buttons. And it turned out that she had actually been abused, and she knew she'd been abused, and she thought she'd dealt with all that. but never related the two things. But what it was the sofa where most of this abuse took place when she was very young. It was one of those old 1970s sofa, and it had the buttons on the back of the sofa, and she used to focus on those buttons, and that's it, that became her phobia. And she'd never ever linked those two. She'd had therapy for the abuse, thought that she was doing really well, but had never really thought about where this strange phobia of buttons had come from. And obviously that's quite extreme. I'm not suggesting that, you know, you went through any kind of abuse, but it just goes to show how these strange things, your mind does weird things because it's trying to protect you. So for her, those buttons had become something that represented danger. So, you know, don't ever be embarrassed to come and tell me. And quite often people come in with things, say, oh, you're not going to believe what I'm afraid of. This is so embarrassing and I've never told anybody. And quite often it's something that actually I have heard before. I mean, there's a lady even with escalators who came in and she said, you know, it's escalators. I just cannot travel on an escalator. And is that the strangest thing you've ever heard? And no, actually, I've treated several people who have a phobia of escalators. So don't ever be embarrassed. Please just come and talk to me. There's usually a good reason. So how we treat them then, so we can either go back to the initial sensitizing event if that's something that you feel would be useful and that you want to do. Now when I say that, I'm not saying that you have to re-experience the trauma. So what we do in that case is I would ask you to imagine, say, being in a cinema and you're actually removed from the situation. So you are looking at yourself in that cinema, looking at a screen. So you don't even have to watch it. But the thing here is there's something called the rewind technique, or it's also called the fast phobia cure. And I actually trained in both of them before I realised they were the same thing. But it's really rewinding that situation and going back, almost kind of resetting your mind and changing, moving those memories to where they should be. Because when we get those traumatic memories, and we do this with PTSD as well, it tends to be that memory's got stuck somewhere in your mind and it feels as though it's happening over and over again. You're re-experiencing that trauma. So what we can do in hypnosis is to actually move that memory. So we can't remove the memory completely. You'll always have that memory, but you won't have the emotion that goes with it. So, you know, and in this way we can actually remove phobias. But as I say, you wouldn't be asked to relive it, and the whole idea of this is that you stay very relaxed. So in no way do I want to frighten you or reinforce the phobia. So it's very important that you stay nice and relaxed and that you're kind of removed as much as you can. If you wanted to, you could be removed again and be even outside the cinema looking at yourself in that cinema seat. You know what I mean? We'll just remove you from that situation, but you will actually experience it in reverse. So you'll go back to before it ever happened. If you didn't want to go back to the initial event, and a lot of people don't see the need to do that, or they really have no memory, they just can't remember, then the other thing we do is something called systematic desensitization, which again, we do that in hypnosis. So what we do there is we create a hierarchy. So we would start with something that just makes you a little bit uncomfortable. So something that you really feel that, you know, you're happy to start with. And again, the most important thing is that you stay nice and relaxed, because what we're actually doing is rewiring that part of your brain that created the phobia. So, you know, the symptoms of a phobia, pretty much like a panic attack. So your mind just goes straight into that fight, flight or freeze response. So when you're faced with that situation, the object, creature, whatever it is, you automatically, you know, you may start to feel sick, you might start to shake. Other people have experienced tightness in their chest or a horrible feeling around their throat. It's kind of things you get with a panic attack, because your body just goes into that same reaction. And it just wants to remove you from the situation. So you'll either just want to run away, completely get away. You might find yourself getting really angry and agitated and being quite rude to the people around you, because, you know, that's just, you get into that kind of fight response. Or you freeze, you don't know what to do, you can't move, you're petrified, because, you know, your body's saying just stay very, very still, keep still, hide, and hopefully it will go away and we'll be all right. And of course your brain's doing all this to protect you, but it's almost as though it's gone a little bit over the top. It's gone into an overreaction, and that's really what a phobia is. It's an extreme response to something that actually isn't that harmful, or isn't harmful at all in a lot of cases. So what we would do then is try by working our way up this hierarchy, keeping you very, very relaxed, rather than that object, that creature, that situation, putting you into that fight, flight or freeze response, and that all happening automatically without you even having time to really consciously think about it. This is all going on at a deeper level. We would just gradually rewire that, so you'd stay nice and relaxed, and very gradually we would work our way week by week up the hierarchy, just getting you nice and relaxed with imagining being in that situation. And I did realise that that does sound quite scary, and people sort of look at me at first, well, you're not going to make me suddenly, go out and hold a spider or something. No, of course not. We would start with, if it's looking at a picture or imagining looking at a picture of a spider, or whatever it is that you feel ready to start with. And then when you're comfortable with that, when you can do that without any of that fear response kicking in, then we would move up to the next level. So it's very gentle. It's nothing scary at all. And as I say, the most important part about this is that you stay relaxed, because that is how it works. So we want to show your mind that it's okay, you can face this and it's fine. You can stay nice and relaxed. And some people describe it as almost like a path in a forest. So of course, if you've walked that path for years and years and years and never walked any other path, that trail becomes very easy. It becomes the natural way to walk, and the rest of the forest grows up around it. But what we're doing is we're creating another path. So we're taking your mind somewhere else. So okay, you can see this object, be in this situation, and it's okay. We're going to go to the relaxed place, that neutral place. So if you kind of imagine it like that, making those new pathways in your brain. And it takes a little bit of time sometimes. It's not something that we can just do in one session, and I wouldn't want to try and do that. It's something that quite often takes a few weeks, because we'll work our way up to the thing that really frightens you. But it will take us time to do that, and we'll do it very gently and very gradually. So I just really wanted to kind of tell you about how we deal with phobias, because as I say, they are very, very common. And please don't ever be embarrassed to come and tell me what it is that you're frightened of. It's likely that there is a logical explanation, that something has happened that has related itself to that place, creature, object, whatever it is, at some point. And that's fine. It could be absolutely anything. As I say to the lady with the buttons, I've had people with pencils, it can be absolutely anything. And I promise I would never laugh at you. We might laugh together at some of the things. We tend to try and keep it as light as possible. But obviously I would never laugh at you, and everything that you come and talk to me about is confidential. So all of it is just between the two of us. So nobody else will ever need to find out. Okay, so please do get in touch, even if you just want to just come and have a chat and, just have a little talk about it and see how you feel. Or if you want to just come and experience some hypnosis, just a little bit of relaxation. It's not at all me taking over your brain or making you do anything that you don't want to do. I wouldn't be able to do that. And I think hypnotherapists would actually be very rich if we could just kind of put ideas into your mind and get you doing whatever we want you to do. But it doesn't work like that. It's actually empowering you to take control of those deeper processes that are going on. So things like those phobias. So if you've lived for years with a phobia and it's really restricting you, think what you could do and how much your life could open up. And it's a great experience to see how people's lives change. So yes, please do get in touch. Either go to my website, lauracullyhypnotherapy.co.uk. I'm on Facebook. Do come and find me on Facebook and we can have a chat. Give me a call, you can give me a ring and we'll have a chat on the phone, or we could even talk via Skype or Facebook Messenger. So plenty of ways that we can get together and have a chat. Quite often on a Monday afternoon I have free sessions available, free 15-minute sessions where you can just pop into Serendipity and see me, and we can have a chat face to face if you want to. So please do get in touch. I look forward to hearing from you, and I will speak to you again in a few weeks.